Have you ever looked at a child and realized they were carrying a burden no 6-year-old should ever have to carry? Imagine walking into a huge office building, surrounded by adults in expensive suits, and seeing a tiny little girl standing alone with a lunchbox in her hands and fear in her eyes. She wasn't there to play. She wasn't lost. She had come because her mother couldn't. What happened after that simple sentence changed every person in that building forever. It proved that one small act of kindness can rewrite someone's future in ways no one could ever imagine. Before we begin, welcome to Heartline Stories. If stories about hope, kindness, and life-changing moments touch your heart, please take a second to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories to people around the world. The rain had just started falling over downtown Chicago when 6-year-old Lily stepped off the city bus. Her bright yellow raincoat was much too big for her, and she held a worn-out lunchbox tightly against her chest. Every few steps she stopped, looked at a small piece of paper in her hand, and checked the address again. The tall glass building in front of her looked nothing like the apartment where she lived with her mother. People rushed through the front doors carrying laptops, coffee cups, and expensive briefcases. Nobody noticed the little girl standing quietly by herself. Lily took a deep breath and walked inside. The security guard smiled politely. "Sweetheart, are you lost?" Lily shook her head. "No, sir. My mom's sick, so I came instead." The guard frowned. "What do you mean?" "My mommy cleans this building every morning. She has a really high fever today. She said she couldn't miss work or we'd lose our apartment. So I came to tell her boss." The guard's smile disappeared. He had worked there for years, but nothing had prepared him for those words. Unsure what to do, he called the building manager, who quickly escorted Lily upstairs. That morning, CEO Daniel Carter was preparing for an important board meeting worth millions of dollars. Investors from across the country were arriving within minutes. When his assistant interrupted him, he looked annoyed. "Sir," she said softly, "there's someone you should meet." Daniel expected another executive. Instead, he saw a tiny girl standing quietly in the doorway. She clutched her lunchbox with both hands. Daniel knelt so they were face to face. "Hello. What's your name?" "Lily." "And why are you here today?" She looked down before answering. "My mom's sick, so I came instead." Daniel listened as Lily explained everything. Her mother, Maria, had worked as a cleaning employee in the building for nearly 8 years. She never missed work because every paycheck mattered. Rent, groceries, medicine, electricity, there was never enough money left over. This morning, Maria had become too weak to stand. She cried because she feared losing her job. Lily thought if she explained everything herself, maybe someone would understand. The room became completely silent. Daniel asked one question. "Did your mom send you?" Lily quickly shook her head. "No." "So why did you come?" She smiled sadly. "Because she always says good people listen if someone tells them the truth." Those simple words hit Daniel harder than any business presentation ever had. He canceled the board meeting. Every executive looked shocked. Millions of dollars were waiting. But Daniel stood up and said, "Business can wait. Humanity cannot." He asked his driver to bring Lily home. When they arrived, they found Maria asleep on an old couch, burning with fever. She woke up terrified. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "Please don't fire me." Daniel gently shook his head. "No one is losing their job." Within minutes he called a private doctor, arranged medicine, and stocked their small kitchen with groceries. Before leaving, he handed Maria an envelope. Inside was 6 months of paid medical leave. Maria couldn't believe it. She burst into tears. "I don't know how to thank you." Daniel smiled. "Thank your daughter." News of what happened spread quickly through the company. Employees who had barely noticed the cleaning staff suddenly began learning their names. Managers started asking workers how their families were doing. The cafeteria organized free meals for employees facing difficult times. People began treating one another differently. All because one little girl had reminded everyone that every person matters. Weeks later, Maria returned to work healthier than ever. But something had changed. She was no longer invisible. Employees greeted her every morning. Some even stopped to help her carry supplies. Lily sometimes visited after school. Everyone knew her. The security guard always had a chocolate chip cookie waiting. The receptionist kept coloring books at her desk. Even busy executives smiled when they saw her walking through the lobby. One afternoon, Daniel invited Lily into his office. He showed her a framed picture hanging on the wall. It wasn't of a famous leader or a successful businessman. It was a drawing Lily had made while waiting in the lobby weeks earlier. It showed a little girl holding her mother's hand under a bright sun. Across the top she had written in careful letters, "Kind people make cloudy days sunny." Daniel pointed at the picture. "I keep this here because every day it reminds me what real success looks like." Years passed. Lily grew into a confident young woman. She worked hard in school, earned scholarships, and eventually became a pediatric nurse. She wanted to care for children because she remembered what it felt like to be scared and helpless. One afternoon, while volunteering at a children's hospital, she noticed an elderly man sitting alone in the waiting room. His face looked familiar. It was Daniel Carter. His hair had turned gray. He looked tired. Lily walked over and smiled. "Do you remember me?" Daniel looked carefully before his eyes filled with tears. "The little girl with the yellow raincoat." She nodded. "And the CEO who chose kindness." Daniel laughed softly. "You changed my life more than you know." Lily squeezed his hand. "No, Mr. Carter. You showed me that kindness isn't something powerful people give to others. It's something that makes everyone stronger." As they sat together, neither spoke for a moment. They simply smiled. Two lives had crossed because of one honest sentence spoken by a frightened little girl years before. Sometimes people think changing the world requires great wealth, special talents, or extraordinary power. But often it begins with one person choosing compassion instead of convenience. One conversation. One helping hand. One act of kindness that keeps traveling from one heart to another. If Lily had stayed home that rainy morning, countless lives might have remained unchanged. Instead, her courage reminded an entire company that people will always matter more than profits. And maybe that's the greatest lesson of all. The next time someone crosses your path carrying a burden you cannot see, choose kindness. Your simple act may become the turning point in someone else's story. Thank you for spending this time with Heartline Stories. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that kindness is never wasted. Until next time, keep spreading hope, because even the smallest act of love can change the world forever.